So question 7, equip 7, says this. What were some of the fascinating claims that came from the legendary astronomer and agnostic uh, Robert Jastrow? What is an agnostic?
Someone who doesn't believe in God, or who believes in a higher power.
Yeah, right. So an agnostic is one who doesn't know whether there is a God or not. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, but they don't know. They don't believe that they have the evidence to know that there's a God. But for an agnostic, Jastrow made some really interesting claims. So, what were some of the fascinating claims that came from the legendary astronomer and agnostic Robert Jastrow? What's one of them? Yes.
The one on page 82 I wrote said the Big Bang Theory has no competitors.
Okay, but that's true. But what we're talking about is things that an agnostic probably doesn't want to say or doesn't want to believe. Anybody else have it? Yes.
The first thing, if the universe is becoming less ordered, then where did the original order?
That's a good one. That's not the one I wrote down, but that's a good thing. Oh yeah, no, that's basically what I said. The universe is like a wound up clock, right? Yeah. So someone must have wound it, or something must have. And that idea of a wound up clock is it's ordered, and you can know, like you can look at that and say, okay, it's 9:28, and that doesn't happen by accident. That there's not a natural cause for a clock. Okay, um, so you did claim 1. So what is claim 2? And if you didn't get the reading done, you need to read the book. After this chapter, you're going to have a big test, and if you haven't read the book, you need to pay attention to this, and answering these questions is helpful as well. So, so what was the second claim? You've suddenly gone dark, or you didn't do the answers, which means you need to do that. Yes. Well, that claim 1 was the wound up clock. He, is that where he says the Big Bang has no competitors? Okay. That's part of it, yeah. So the radiation discovered precisely supports a Big Bang, and ends any claims for a steady state. When you see that term steady state, it means that the universe is eternal. That's what they're saying. So what Jastrow is saying is that the universe can't be eternal. It's impossible for it, and so the Big Bang is the only option, and it ends any idea of the universe being eternal. The universe had a beginning, and if the universe had a beginning, it had a cause. Number 3. Yes. This guy's is an agnostic. He doesn't know if there's a God. He doesn't believe there is a God. He doesn't know if there's a God or not. But even he is saying the science looks like Genesis. And it does. The simple explanation of the universe in Genesis is consistent with science. So yeah, he said it looks like Genesis. That's astonishing. Or even though he's just not an atheist but an agnostic, he doesn't know if there's a God, but he knows that Genesis got it. And then number 4. No, I did the 4. Number 5. Oh, we didn't do 3?
No, 4.
I didn't do 4. Oh, okay. Okay. So what's 4? Oh yeah, that's what I did. I put it in the wrong spot. Yes, Kendra.
Natural forces at work inside.
Okay, so supernatural forces at work, and what was the rest of it?
Is a scientifically proven fact.
Is a scientifically proven fact. Yeah, that is astonishing. And then the other thing that's that it talks about is atheistic astronomers have painted themselves into a corner because their own methods have proved a very sudden beginning. So the existence of the supernatural is now a scientifically proven fact. That's that whole quote. And so he also, the last one, that last claim, what does that say? Yes, Anna. Yeah, it turns out that scientists act very much like anyone else when the evidence doesn't support what they behave. They get irritated. They're irritated by this because they know it's right, but they don't want to believe it. But they're scientists, so they're supposed to go where the science leads us. Okay, question 8. Summarize the definition offered by Arthur Eddington of the second law of thermodynamics. What does he call the second law of thermodynamics? He calls it the highest law of nature. The highest law of nature. And then he says, if any theory contradicts it, the theory is doomed. It is that important. The second law, and it's the law of entropy that everything tends to degrade, and you can see that in nature and in people, and that law of entropy doesn't command, but is part of all of the universe, including human beings. How does the expanding universe prove a beginning? Yes.
If everything is moving or expanding, something must happen.
Right. Yeah. It assumes a beginning point because it's moving outward, right? It's almost like I don't know if you've ever watched a video backwards, right? And actually, my seniors, I played a clip for them that part of it goes backwards. And if you could take that explosion and take it backwards, it would end up at a point that is literally nothing. But there had to be something that created the universe. So yeah, the expanding universe assumes that there's a beginning point as it's expanding. Number 10. What are some views espoused by atheists that offer explanations of the existence of the universe? So these are alternate theories about why we're here. Alternate theories for the beginning of the universe, how the universe came into being. So what are some of those alternate theories? Theories is not the right word. Yes. Okay, so let's start. Let's talk about each one of them. Good. So, what's the cosmic rebound theory? Yes. Yeah. So the universe has always been, but it has been contracting and then expanding and contracting and expanding eternally. The thing is, we're right now in an expanding period, so we don't realize that it's contracted. The problem is there is no evidence anywhere in the universe for a contracting universe. They postulate that, but there's no science, there's no math, there's no philosophy that can prove that. It's just an idea that people have because they don't want the universe to have a beginning. They want it to be eternal. That way, nothing had to make it. What's another one? Imaginary time, which they call an imaginary theory. Time is, and time doesn't, and we already talked about this, time doesn't cause anything. Things happen over time. But time is not a cause. It doesn't cause, this is the very first thing that video that Katie was in, that things happen over time, but time is not a cause. The cookies, well, you can leave them on the counter forever. They're not going to bake because time doesn't bake. Only heat does that. What's another one? What? The uncertainty one, and that the law of causality has an exception. It's the one exception of the law of causality, but it can't be a law, and it's never been proven wrong. So there's no way that there's been no nobody has been able to test that because the law of causality is known to be true. And then we have the multiverse, that there are many universes. Ours is one of many. Again, there is no evidence of that. And as I've told you before, I go with Larry Norman on this one. That if there's life on other planets, then I know that he must know, and he's been there once already and he's died to save their souls. There is no evidence for multiple universes. And then number 11. In the end, why don't these theistic theories adequately explain the existence of the universe? Yes.
Belief in science contradict their belief about the universe.
Can you say that again?
Belief in science contradict the belief of atheists about the universe.
Yes. Yes. So this is the way I put it. That's good. The truth cannot be found by the beginning with the assumption that there is no God or first cause. Because if you rule out something before you even start, okay, we got to figure out what created the universe, but it can't be God. That's not what scientists are supposed to do. They're supposed to put everything on the table and go where the evidence is, and the evidence shows that the universe had a beginning. Yes.
Okay, just banking off of that.
Yeah.
Are we going in with the assumption that the universe had a cause that cannot be God?
That's a really good question. And this is a logical argument, and we've got a long way to go. But when we get to that, we'll talk about what is the first cause, and we'll postulate what are the possible first causes. Because all we know now is that the universe had a cause. We're not talking about who that cause or what that cause was, and we'll go through that just as judiciously as we do through this. But that's a great question. Okay, so yeah. So the truth can't be found by beginning with the assumption that there is no God. You have to, and this is what science says, you have to keep all options on the table, which is where we are right now. We're putting all options on the table, and we're going to go through those. But they take God off the table. So he's not an option. But what if the science and the math and the philosophy all point to a transcendent God? They'll still say, oh yeah, it sure looks like God, but it can't be because there is no God. So it's not very scientific. Okay, questions. Okay, so here's what you're going to do with whatever time you have, and what you don't do is, by the way, your Bible here, Wednesday. I want you to read pages 88 to 94. You can finish reading the chapter, and we'll stop. And whatever time you have left, you can work.